all that stuff. So.
How did you hear about this project?
Cale Davis is a friend of mine on Facebook, and he owns a Star Bar.
Yeah.
And he's a friend of yours, and he mentioned in a post that he was playing here, and this is right down the road from my house. And I thought about coming, and then I couldn't make it, and then I investigated what you do, and I said, well, this guy does mental health awareness, and that's dear to my heart, because my sister is severely schizophrenic and has been for almost 30 years. More than 30 years, actually. She started with depression and turned into full-blown schizophrenia, and started with depression in 83 when I was 13. And by 86, it was full-blown schizophrenia. She had a psychotic break. And started hearing things that weren't there, seeing things that weren't there. She's been in and out of group homes, mental hospitals.
You said you were 13?
Yes.
You were 13?
Yes. 83.
What were you, do you remember, when you started to notice that behavior, what you were thinking?
I was kind of in my own world. I'm a little bit younger than my sisters. I have two sisters. One is born in 63, and Terry, the middle one, is the one that's schizophrenic. She's born in 66, and then I was born in 70. So that's, a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
And, my father was pretty much a workaholic, and he was a corporate finance guy for a number of large companies. That's how we ended up here. And so I just noticed that she got to be really messy, and that's part of the schizophrenia illness, where you can't focus on normal daily activities that most Western humans do.
Yeah.
Keep your room clean, brush your teeth, wash your hair, and she was a straight A student on the honor roll several times, was on the drill team, was on the cheerleading squad, in high school, and very popular, very friendly and outgoing, and so on and so forth. And then she started failing out and just kind of sulking in a room a lot. And, she would get violent for no reason, just throw things around. I was just a little kid. I didn't really know anything better.
Yeah.
But I did notice that. And then she went to the hospital summer of 83 and put on Novocaine, which is an old school antipsychotic. And she was on something else for the side effects. Another drug. I forget the name now. And then, she was pretty good after that. She went back to high school, finished high school, and went to a small college in North Georgia called Reinhardt, which is now a university, and they have 4-year status. But back then, in the 80s, it was just a 2-year school. And I don't even know what she was studying, but she went up there, and first she went to DeKalb College, which is now part of Georgia State. It was DeKalb College in Georgia Perimeter, now part of Georgia State. And she did a year there, and then she went up to Reinhardt and had a psychotic break up there. And
you think she's just stress and just
genetics, just biology. That's the only thing we can come down to, thinking that was the cause. And that's what, environment plays a small factor. She, like most of the kids of her generation, smoked a little grass, but, it wasn't every day, and it wasn't in exorbitant quantities, I think it's certainly biology in her case, and, just about everybody's case that has schizophrenia, because it's a permanent change in your brain, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's like when you're born, you have hands. It's just like that. That's reality. So,
it's gonna be hard. Hard to deal with.
Well, my grandmother on both sides, both of them were they had depressive tendencies, and my father did as well. He became an alcoholic, but we won't talk about that right now. I think that certainly there's a stigma, and this is what this video is about, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's a stigma attached to mental illness, and you see it in in daily life. Not so much now because of the social justice warriors that are all about, and everybody's aware of all these permutations, I should call them, of human beings, and we should all accept everybody's the same. My belief is that we're not all the same. So there's that. For instance, you see it in the movies. It's complete misnomering. There was a movie called Me, Myself, and Irene. I think I mentioned this to you before. Couldn't think of the name. It's Jim Carrey, who's a famous comic actor. And you look up Jim Carrey's schizophrenia, and Me, Myself, and Irene comes up. And that's a complete misnomering. That's a multiple personality disorder. Because the movie talks about, it's supposed to be a funny movie, and this person who Jim Carrey plays has multiple personalities, but people think that's schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is not that. Schizophrenia is hearing voices, seeing things that are not there, and unable to focus, to have yourself a normal daily routine kind of life.
Yeah, there's a lady around this area actually. She kind of comes and goes, and before we were open, she would come out and sit in the woods out here, and one day she kind of looked like a homeless lady, and and I was like, what, that's kind of awesome that she was able to sit here and get a little rest, and then I noticed that she was the opposite of messy. She had laid out a bunch of all of her belongings perfectly, and then she was just chilling out, and I think it was the next day she was she kept calling me Mister, which I'm not used to, and she was like, thank you for being kind, and I was like, I didn't really do much, I was just I guess I wasn't treating her any different than someone else. But then I would hear her yelling at whoever she was seeing and getting into conversations and stuff like that. So it's definitely
schizophrenia,
unnerving. Yeah, and it's not easy to deal with.
Well, schizophrenia affects people in different ways. Some people do become excessively neat, but in my sister's case, it was just the opposite.
Well, I say depression will make you real.
Oh, sure.
Real
and that's what happened with her first. So, I noticed, because I had to share a bathroom with her, and so I ended up using my parents because it was a lot cleaner. To get makeup all over the place and mostly makeup, so, and dirty towels and so on and so forth.
Well, how does what was the? Let's get to one of those questions.
Okay, what does stigma mean to me?
Yeah, what does stigma mean?
Well, like I was saying before, it means that society says that if human beings in Western society don't act a certain way, then they're considered not human or not worthy of even being here. I found that especially true in high school. My friends knew that my sister was mentally ill, and they would make fun of her, and that hurt my heart. And it was not fun to deal with.
Cruel, yeah.
And they were very, very cruel. But you get over that, and life goes on. And I've seen some things that they and had to deal with things that they have never had to deal with.
Yeah.
And I think, well, good for them. It's a learning experience. It's a growing experience. It makes you a stronger person. That's for sure. It is difficult to talk about.
Yeah, so I understand why the stigma is there, for sure. But if we, I don't know, it's just this invisible thing that our fear of judgment, especially for me, I had a real bad fear of judgment, and then getting over that and then throwing stigma on top of it, I was oh man. Anyway, how do you balance your brain?
Well, I'm a sort of a practicing Buddhist, sort of. I'm not a member of any group or anything like that, but I think Buddhism has a lot to say, even in Western society, I know it's a very small percentage of people in the West that are
like
Buddhist.
I like the idea of suffering well. And
sure,
like Buddhists
everybody
do that.
suffers, and the secret to happiness is to find a way to be happy in spite. Not in spite, not in a negative context, but you just know that it's there, and everybody's got suffering of some sort. Even the seemingly most happy person in the world.
Yeah.
Although everybody's in everybody's business because of the internet.
Yeah.
And so you can see, you think that Donald Trump would be the happiest person in the world, but he's got big time troubles, and we know every 2 seconds because he tweets. Right?
Yeah. There's a part of like trying to. I don't know. Somebody was the other day was like getting annoyed about oversharing or like being too sensitive and things like that. But I don't know. I try not to think about too many other people. But well, thank you for sharing a little bit of your story.
Okay.
The more we talk about it, the easier it gets.
Of course.
And the more other people's stories we hear. What any like final thoughts or anything you wanted to get to?
I think we covered a lot of things. I would say this, you mentioned about taking care of yourself, and obviously there's a work-life balance and a family balance, and I would say this: if you are struggling with mental illness or think that you are, there are a million resources that are available. Some are sponsored by the government, some are not. It's become easier to get treatment these days, because of Obama. Not that this is any great shakes, but now every health plan, I believe I saw this on Facebook today. I'm a member of, not a member, but a follower of NAMI, which is a National Alliance of Mentally Ill. Because of Obamacare, I believe, every health plan that you pay for has to have some sort of mental health part, be it, $100 copay, and you can only see the person once every 6 months. And there's certainly probably some kind of discount on medication. So, any plan that you buy is required now by law to have a mental health treatment part.
Nice. Well,
so
I appreciate you doing your part, man.
Okay.
Just showing up, man, and talking to a complete stranger. And, and I really appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you.
To see you around here more.
Okay. Take care.
All right.